Whether they're supportive, distant, funny, stern, or still on that cigarette run they went on in 1986, dads have inspired a lot of art. That's why inhabiting the role of Steven Spielberg's father in The Fabelmans was such a daunting task. Here's how Paul Dano became an amateur engineer, got unprecedented access to film most of the world will never see, and employed some truly bizarre, below-the-belt acting techniques to get into the mind of Bert Fabelman.
So you want to put your mind
into your bottom.
in your sphincter.
Yeah.
And be warned, there's spoilers ahead. Steven Spielberg is a name synonymous with film. He's the directorial mind behind some of the biggest films of our lifetime, and he's been making movies ever since he was 7 years old. He first attempted to write an autobiographical movie in 1990 with the screenwriting help of his sister Anne Spielberg, but it never really got finished. Cut to 2020, the COVID lockdown is in effect, production is wrapped on West Side Story, and Spielberg finds himself ready for the next project, in a world where you're not even allowed to be within 6 feet of another person. Then in August, his beloved father, Arnold Spielberg, passed away at the age of 103. This tragic event seems to be the thing that finally inspired Steven to tell the story of his upbringing once and for all.
It almost took the pandemic of having 2 years of doing nothing for me to have a chance for Tony and I to get on Zoom and talk about the feasibility of actually telling this story of a coming-of-age story.
That's right, while most of us were still rubbing Lysol on our groceries, the director of Jurassic Park and the mind behind Angels of America were cooking up something big.
Why don't we just put fade in? Why don't we start with fade in? Most movies start with fade in.
Name a better way to start a movie. I'll wait. The Fabelmans is a coming-of-age story of a young boy named Sam whose budding interest in filmmaking is supported by his free-spirited mother Mitzi and his more stoic father Bert. Because this project was so personal, Spielberg was meticulous about the details, having set designers use family photos to create exact replicas of his childhood homes and even using old cameras to make shot-for-shot remakes of the films he shot as a young adult, though he admits he couldn't resist updating an angle or two here and there. Once this is all in place, the next hardest task became casting the father he so recently lost. And of course he turned to the Riddler?
You showed me all it takes is fear and a little focused violence.
Paul Dano's commitment to his role in the Batman was intense to say the least. He got so into crafting an intricate backstory for his twisted character that he ended up co-writing official Riddler comics during the process. But this role took Dano into such a dark mental space that he had to sequester himself away from his pregnant wife and baby daughter during parts of filming, because it was hard for him to turn the character off at the end of the day. Dano likens his acting process to the training and focus of a pro athlete, but actors sometimes skip a crucial part of that training ritual.
Again, I really like athlete analogies, so I wish that we maybe put a little more care into the afterwork part, which is
I
like,
agree. Yeah,
I don't know what the equivalent of the ice bath is.
For Dano, the ice bath cometh in form of a chance to play the gentler role of Bert Fabelman, right after he played the Riddler.
Well, I was so relieved that Steven would ask me to play this part, especially after that. It was a really good antidote, to get to play somebody who has so much integrity and kindness.
Not a serial killer.
Not a serial.
Still, this role would prove to be intense in entirely different ways.
And the third Zoom was him with a cigar in his mouth. And he was like, I think you'll make my dad proud. And I was like, okay.
During the preparation process and filming, Spielberg shared home videos, photographs, diary entries, and stream of consciousness daily thoughts about his relationship with his father.
He was so emotionally intuitive, and I didn't know what the project was. As soon as he started telling me it was about his family, his story in a way, about his parents, my heart really leapt, which I don't have that feeling often. And there was something where I was like, oh, this is actually what he needs right now.
Some people go to therapy, other people make the Fabelmans. Don't worry, Steven, we're happy with your choice.
What, you never saw nobody grieving before?
The energy on set was so steeped in emotion that crew members recall seeing Spielberg crying as he watched the monitor, and getting so immersed in the scenes, he often forgot to call cut.
I wanted to have that kind of doctor-patient relationship with my cast, but it was hard to do it because the story kept tugging me back to actual memories and recreating things that had actually happened to me and seeing them unspool in front of me. It was a wicked, weird experience.
And if you weren't kicked squarely in the feels yet, wait till you hear about the bittersweet coincidence that happened while filming.
Obviously the most personal thing I've ever been close to in my life, and it was difficult because of that. It was very difficult also since the last scene of the movie that's in the movie that Paul's in. We didn't plan it this way; it just so happened. But the last scene that that Paul did as Bert with Gabriel as Sammy, the scene in the apartment in Brentwood, was on the day of the 1-year anniversary of my father's passing.
Go ahead and take a quick cry break if you need it. We'll be here when you get back.
We're never not going to know each other, Sammy.
Dano's own son was also born during production, and he says that his experience as a father helped add nuance to his portrayal.
How are you even awake? Does Spielberg not give paternity leave? I don't understand.
Since the real Arnold Spielberg was one of the engineers behind the technology that made the personal computer possible, Dano also prepped by reading period-accurate engineering manuals and building a crystal radio by hand to get into the engineering mindset. And that's the exact mindset that fuels Bert's unique physicality, though Dano has a kind of body way of describing it.
So I love this quote of yours. Some characters lead from their chest, or their head more, or their dick more.
And while that kind of language is not exactly Juilliard approved, it's still a thought process we can see in Dano's portrayal of Bert. Take this scene, for example.
Am I supposed to be following any of this?
You know what a magnetic field is, right?
Notice the difference in physicality between mild-mannered Bert explaining a concept and boisterous Benny explaining the same thing.
Loaded with data. And instead of changing tapes every 10 seconds, this new machine he's engineering...
The Bismack!
The Bismack! It can search for information through all these tapes at once. You never need to change any of them. It'll be 10 times faster.
I love Bert's brain. Especially when you're around to explain what's in it.
These different ways of leading say so much about each of these men, and the focus on physicality becomes much more gutting given the climax of the film. And Dano's head-leading stature is shown again and again, while other characters move frenetically around him. He's the backbone, the ramrod straight solace in the eye of the storm, the grounding presence in this chaotic family. If Mitzi's artistry is movement, Bert's is stoic, meticulous stillness. This type of role is not exactly groundbreaking for Dano, who often plays characters who attempt to keep a tight lid on their emotions. However, The Fabelmans might be the first role in a long time where his character never gets a release. This is about as close as we get. Don't be a hero, take that second cry break if you need it. The knee-jerk reaction of most people would be to shine a light on Michelle Williams' flashy turn as the bubbly bohemian Mitzi. And while that is a stellar performance, Paul Dano is doing so much with the smallest of expressions, especially in that scene.
I don't know, I would like you to, because this film thing, I don't know.
Dano says that the 4 words he wrote down as North Stars for playing Bert were decency, integrity, tenacity, and perseverance. A keen eye can see all those attributes playing out even in that minute of footage. According to an interview with Flaunt.com, Dano describes Bert as somebody who can fix almost anything. But what happens when he comes up against something he can't fix, like marriage? And in Dano's quiet portrayal, where we can feel his inner monologue even if we never hear it, this character comes off as strong and tragic rather than impotent. Okay, that was a lot. Let's dive into one of Dano's more unconventional approaches to playing the role. Don't worry though, we'll probably end with one more cry break.
You also have to be relaxed so everything is flowing through you. So how do you get it up, so to speak, but also be relaxed?
What kind of movies are we making here, Paul?
My acting teacher says you want to make sure your tongue and your sphincter are relaxed, because that's where we carry a lot of tension.
Yep, you heard that right. This potentially Oscar-winning portrayal starts from the bottom up.
Is this a real thing? Do you actually relax your sphincter?
Absolutely. I'm really not kidding.
You're the only one laughing.
No. So you want your unconscious to be operating at its fullest strength, okay, right? When you're acting, where we hold tension in our body. So yeah, all you do is, and we can do this, I can talk you through it. I want you to put your mind into your bottom. You can talk to it if you want. I mean, in your head even, you can just say, you can say Steven's bottom or Steven's sphincter, I want you to let go of any tension you're carrying. Oh, see, mine just relaxed. And you just put your mind into the part of your body you want to relax.
Between that anecdote and the whole leading from your thing, Dano does seem to be a little spicy during this press tour. We'll just chalk that up to another metaphorical ice bath that you need to recover from such an emotionally draining film.
Can the first fart make you laugh and the last fart make you cry?
Steven Spielberg has been in the business for over 50 years, and after wrapping The Fabelmans, he says it feels like the first time where he doesn't know what comes next. But based on the film's critical response, it seems likely that his next move will be going from one award show stage to the next. Heck, The Fabelmans already has 5 Golden Globe nominations. Dano is so far absent from the nominations list, but this performance is so nuanced that we have a feeling it's too early to count him out. The Fabelmans is the closest we may ever get to a Spielberg memoir, and not to sound like this.
We come to this place for magic.
But this movie, from the script and directing to the performances big and small, reminds us why we've remained fascinated with movies for all these years. We're attracted to the technical aspects, the healing properties, and the beautiful dream of it all. Sam's Uncle Boris tells him that at some point, all of the greats have to choose between their family and their art. And with The Fabelmans, Spielberg is showing that he never made the choice. He found a way to connect them both.
I do respect them. I love them.
I know you do, but you can't just love something. You also have to take care of it, right?
Tragic as it is, maybe it took his father's death for Spielberg to put his life into perspective, and maybe casting an actor like Dano to portray his quiet strength, intelligence, and decency is the ultimate act of respecting his legacy. By putting Bert on screen, he made him immortal. Spielberg, Dano, Kushner, and everyone involved in this film do what they do for the same reason young Sam crashed that train into the Ark over and over again.
That's why he needs to watch them crash. He's trying to get some kind of control over it.
Whew, now I need a cry break. What did you think of Paul Dano's turn in The Fabelmans, and who would play your dad in a movie?
Dad!
Tell us all that and what actor's journey you'd like us to cover next in the comments below.